Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122, and I want to welcome you all back to another episode of the podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. Oh boy, this was another great week for high school sports, specifically for Brevard standards. And basically, again, it's all about my Brevard Blue Devils here today, for the most part. I will try and sprinkle some other scores here and there from previous games. Or from other games across the area for this week. But it's mainly going to be Brevard's football and volleyball game recaps this week. So let's get right into it. So before we get into this video, keep in mind that all of my quote-unquote opinions are from a fan's point of view. This is not factual. This is not me trying to rip off the team or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but everything that I'm going to say here is just from a fan's perspective. Just wanted to get that out of here. And the other thing is that Brevard had 3 volleyball games this week. 2 of them were away games. 2 of them were away games. 1 of them was a home game. I will only go in depth on the home game that I went to because, I made a different video on that. And I said that I was going to do a recap of that game. But I decided to wait until this weekend after Brevard's football match against the R.S Central Hilltoppers was done. So I decided to just throw them into one video here. So we're going to get started with volleyball news first. So going into the week, going into another week of volleyball, Brevard was 6-1. They had a road match against the R.S Central Hilltoppers, and they sadly lost that game 3-2. Now, Brevard was in prime position to win the game, but they got blown out in the 4th set, which forced the 5th set, and then R.S Central won in a shootout to win the game. So that is the second loss that Brevard has suffered this year for volleyball. Both losses were 3-2, so at least Brevard showed some fight in those 2 losses. I mean, Brevard has a very good volleyball team this year, believe it or not. I mean, well, come on. If you've been following my channel since the very beginning, I talked to death about how good Brevard's volleyball team is this year. And then we get to the home game when Brevard was hosting a 5-5 Polk County high school team. Now, like with Brevard, Polk, and I said this in the game aftermath that I did, that was uploaded, I believe, on Tuesday night. Like Brevard, Polk County has a very rich volleyball tradition, and they are extremely proud of their volleyball. So I knew this was going to be a tough game for us. Even though Polk County was 5-5, they were coming off of 3 straight wins, and they were peaking. And a win for Brevard would be huge because that would move them into first place. And that's exactly what they did. They got off to a rough start. They lost the first set, but it was a little bit of a shootout. And then Brevard managed to win the final 3 sets to win 3-1. It was a great time. I was in the student section, and I'm not lying, one of the best Brevard sports experiences that I've ever experienced. So there's that. So, with Brevard and Polk County, those 2 teams are my 2 favorite high school sports teams in the entire country. Not just here in North Carolina, but in the entire country, period. And that's saying something because I usually don't follow national rankings. I mainly just follow Western North Carolina rankings, So, yeah, I was extremely fired up in that game, and I was so happy that Brevard won the game. I mean, I do feel for the Polk County fans, and, but look on the bright side. Y'all beat Patton on Thursday, on the next game. I mean, Brevard also beat Patton as well, but, Polk County beat them more convincingly. So, there's that. And now, speaking of Thursday, Brevard traveled to East Rutherford to take on the Cavaliers for a potential season sweep, and Brevard took care of business, winning 3-0 like they did in the home match, which I recorded. So with that said, that takes care of volleyball business. Now let's move on to football. So, Friday night, Brevard had a road tilt against the R.S Central Hilltoppers. I recorded 2 videos over at that stadium, one before the game, one during halftime, and now here we are in the recap. So, for the first 3 quarters, or at least Brevard, like with the volleyball games, Brevard got off to a rough start. They were down 13-0. They couldn't stop Xavier Toms or Jaden Costin of R.S Central. And I will admit, those two had, and especially Ken Hines as well, those 3 players had amazing games for R.S Central. I mean, amazing games. They made the Blue Devil defense look non-existent. I won't lie. But however, before the first quarter ended, Joe Powell hit Garrett Swicegood, who made his return after being quarantined for COVID. And Garrett Swicegood just did typical Garrett Swicegood thing. He broke several tackles on his way to the end zone for a Brevard touchdown, which made the lead 13-7 going into the second quarter. Now, the second quarter was absolutely insane. It was an absolute shootout. First, you had R.S Central scoring a TD, and then Brevard marched down the field, and they scored a touchdown. Joe Powell to Kyle Lovett, I believe. And then one of the craziest plays happened. So, on the extra point, they botched the snap. Kyle Lovett picked it up. He ran one way, and then he switched to the opposite direction, found a hole, and ran it into the end zone for a 2-point conversion. That was insane. And I tell you, that, in my opinion, should have been the momentum changer, but sadly, R.S Central drove down the field and answered like that. They were just that unstoppable on the ground. Penalties also played a big part in this game, but I'll get to that later. And then Brevard managed to answer right before halftime with Joe Powell connecting with whom I believe was Jalen Carver. I could be wrong. I don't know who caught the 3rd touchdown of the night. I don't remember who caught the 3rd TD of the night, but I think it was Jalen Carver. Joe Powell had 3 passing touchdowns on the night, and he made some mistakes, but again, I'll get to that in a second. Now that put R.S Central, that cut R.S Central's lead back down to 5, which was 27-22, and that would be your score going into halftime. And of course, during halftime, the R.S Central Hilltopper Marching Band had an amazing marching band show. Their color guard looked absolutely amazing. In my opinion, and their drum line had their moments here and there. One of their snare drummers was doing some crazy visuals. It was insane. Shout out to the R.S Central Hilltopper Marching Band. Y'all did absolutely amazing on Friday night. Absolutely amazing. And good luck to you guys the rest of the season. Now, when it comes to the third quarter action, Brevard got the ball to start the second half. They went 3 and out. Then, after several defensive stops here and there, Brevard managed to actually take the lead going into the fourth quarter thanks to a rushing touchdown from Joe Powell and a good 2-point conversion caught by Kyle Lovett, I think. I could be wrong. But then in the fourth quarter, things started to go completely wrong. R.S Central drove down the field, scored a touchdown. Brevard had the chance to answer, but Joe threw an interception to whom I believe was Jaden Costin. Now, R.S Central was wearing camo uniforms, so I couldn't read their numbers very clearly, but I think it was Jaden Costin I know Jaden Costin had at least 1 interception on the day for the Hilltoppers. I don't know if that was the first one or the second one. Again, who knows? There were several interceptions in the game that were called back due to penalties, but there were no flags on this one. And of course, R.S Central drove down the field again, and they scored, giving them a 41-30 lead. Then Brevard had an amazing drive, but Powell threw an interception into the end zone to seal the game for the Hilltoppers, which improved their record to 1-3, and Brevard dropped to 1-3. So, pretty bad loss for Brevard. Joe Powell having 3 touchdowns against 2 interceptions. That just can't happen. Penalties were also a big factor in this game. There was even a fight in the fourth quarter. Thankfully, no one got ejected. And it was mainly R.S Central. They got a personal foul called twice, and then of course Brevard also had one. It was mainly Hayden Johnson, our one of our corners. He was very frustrated throughout the entire game, and when a player gets frustrated like throughout the course of the game and they've just had enough, chances are a fight is going to break out. And yeah, from a fan's perspective, it's kind of interesting and a little bit entertaining to watch. But at the end of the day, you're just hoping that someone from your team does not get ejected. So thankfully, no one got ejected, as I said. But there are a lot of penalties. R.S Central got called twice, and Brevard got called once. But yeah, as a result, add that up, and it is a 41-30 R.S Central win. Now, R.S Central played a really good game. They had a great game plan. They absolutely embarrassed our defense. I mean, they have like 3 senior running backs, and their QB is also a senior. So you can make the case that we were just out aged, I guess, if that's even a thing. But 3 of their running backs are seniors. You had Xavier Toms, you have Ken Hines, and you have Tyler Logan, who all had efficient nights against Brevard. I don't know the stats as of right now. And then Jaden Costin, of course, he was mainly effective on the ground, but he made some good throws here and there. But it was mainly the rushing attack for R.S Central. Both teams had good rushing attacks. And even Garrett Swiska even got some direct snaps and wildcat plays, which was an interesting choice. It worked on several occasions, and I do like the creativity that Coach Pritchett is trying to go for, or at least whoever our offensive coordinator is. But yeah, that's 3 straight losses now for Brevard. Thankfully, they have a very winnable game against the East Henderson Eagles next Friday night over at Brevard Memorial Stadium. It's the first time in 3 games, in about a month, that Brevard has played a home game. And of course, the last time we played at home was a 16-14 loss to the Asheville Cougars. So hopefully Brevard can go to 2-3 on the year before their big road game against the Chase Trojans. So yeah, Brevard needs to win next week. So, go Blue Devils. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122 signing out, ready to dive and more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.